Hey everyone, welcome back to Omocha Reviews. Anne here, and today we are taking on Kotobukiya's ARTFX-J Levi Ackerman figure. This is the Renewal package version, meaning it's the second run of this figure. We actually did a video of Mikasa Ackerman from this exact same line a few videos back, so please do check that out. There are quite a few similarities as well as a few differences. The biggest similarity being, of course, the concept. They are essentially preparing for battle on a large tree trunk. But the box is pretty similar too. On the side, you have a colorized rendition of the figure, and on the back, you have a clear look at what it's gonna look like. Each character in this line, of course, has their own signature pose. Levi here is setting up for his signature Beyblade attack. I would like to note that he was sculpted by a completely different sculptor from the one who did Mikasa. I do believe that's the case for everything in this line. But otherwise, concept is the same, the execution is a little different. On the side, we have another rendition of the Colossal Titan. Mikasa's box was red, Levi's is green. Then back to the front for this view of the very cool 1/8 scale figure of Levi. As something that comes in at about $100, this is, as you would expect, very well packaged, and also it has a bit of thought going into it as well. That is the sigil of Wall Maria right there behind where Levi is. This is the same as with Mikasa's box actually. But yeah, back to the packaging. The instructions are taped on the top, very smartly conserving space. Also, Levi and his base are very securely sandwiched between two pieces of plastic. The extra parts of this kit are packaged between cardboard. You have the wires for the ODM gear, as well as two sets of blades, one for Levi himself that look very sharp and clean, and two blunt ones that look like they've been completely wrecked in battle. And then there's the base, completely wrapped in plastic for safety from scratches. And of course, Levi himself, who is also similarly wrapped. All of his limbs and extremities, extra attachments, all get the same treatment with a little extra padding in plastic. I don't think it's fair to really judge Levi as he is right now, so let's set him up. Let's put down the base. It's very well detailed, as you can see, lots of wood grain there, and a lot of scratches to indicate there's been a lot of slashing going around. It's all very reminiscent of when they were in the forest trying to capture the female Titan back in the second season. And the cool thing that they did here was they, instead of making it look like the trunk was chopped or something, they really made it look like it was ripped by some kind of force of nature, aka a Titan. Very cool. And as you can see, when I place it down, it's not completely balanced, it leans more on one side. This is of course to counteract the weight of Levi. It's a very vertical statue, and it's very impressive that they managed to balance it so well when he's just attached by his knee, like literally by his knee right there. From here, it's all about attaching the smaller items, and the manual does actually tell you how to put everything on, from the blunt blades to the real blades and the ODM gear wires. It's all very intuitive even without the manual. The sharper blades go in his hands and the duller ones go embedded in the tree, though you can't actually interchange them, surprisingly. The ODM gear is a little more complicated because the two wires are not actually interchangeable. They both bend different ways, and their pegs are actually different shapes. You can't just go put them wherever you want. I'm not entirely happy with how loosely they're attached to the bit at his belt, but otherwise, when you put it all together, it's a very dynamic statue from whatever angle that you're viewing it. Lots of tension and fluidity in the pose, and it's actually really a huge play on textures as well, and you can appreciate that now that we have a closer look. You have all of that detail on the tree trunk and the blunt blades, and when you look at Levi himself, there's so much detail in his clothing. The buckles on the straps on his trousers, the leather of his boots, and if you look here, there's actually a sheen on the ODM gear as well as the blades, so you can actually tell they really are meant to be metal. You have the wings of freedom on the back of his cloak, which is billowing, and you can see that there is actually they put a sole on his boots, which, you know, they didn't have to do, but they did anyway. Not a lot of shading in this figure, but that's okay. I like the clean look of Levi versus how textured the tree trunk is. It makes sense. As you can see close up, they got his face completely right along with the hair part. go down, you're just looking at so much contrast, which I appreciate it a lot. Because from the bottom you go from the blunt blades, this bark that's torn up, to a very clean and battle-ready Levi. It's really very cool. And the dynamism from the wires, it really just completes the entire look. The only thing that annoys me a bit is that you can very obviously see where Levi is connected to the base, but honestly, this is something that you're only gonna see if you're just getting up close and personal with it like I am here. Same goes for the dull blades embedded in the tree. You can kind of see the white parts. Aside from that, there's no indication of anything being removable except for his cloak, which is the only thing you're really meant to fiddle around with. Because of the alternate look that this figure has, just like Mikasa, you can actually remove the cloak by simply removing Levi's head. Cloak is actually a loose part looped around his neck. Oh! Yes, you do have the option to pose Levi without his cloak. You get an extra cravat. The one that he wears originally with the cloak on is completely flat so that it goes on seamlessly. This extra part is a little more dynamic, looking like it's moving with his motion. And it's really that attention to detail that does get me. It's very easy to just put on. There's a peg on the back of the cravat. So this is essentially what Levi looks like in the pose without the cloak on his back. You still get the emblem of the Scouts Regiment on his back. You also get to see more of it on his shoulders as well. So if you are a fan of that, then that's probably how you would pose him. Personally, I think despite the added touches like the cravat and how you see that the jacket is also moving with it, I still prefer the look with the cloak. That's really how I'd pose him. So next, we're gonna do some size comparison. This is Sukuna, or the Yuji Itadori figure from the Pop-Up Parade line. As you can see, it is significantly smaller, not just because of the base. If I lift them up, Itadori is like the height from Levi's head to his knee only. And you know, pop-up parades aren't actually that small. You can check out our reviews of different pop-up parades like Itadori on our channel. Next, we have Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. This is his Figma DX. As you can see, he is significantly tinier. I would say he's maybe a little over Levi's waist, meaning that if you do actually collect different figures, there is a chance that Levi will be significantly bigger, or might even be the biggest thing in your collection, unless you're really into resin statues. That's a completely different ballgame altogether. Size-wise, the Levi ARTFX-J statue definitely makes an impression. And if you really love his character and Attack on Titan in general, then I totally recommend that you do get this figure. Whether you already collect figures or whether this is gonna be your first one, it really is bang for buck even at $100. If you're someone who really appreciates detail, all these textures really are just worth it. Anyway, that's all for today on Omocha Reviews. If you like this video, please do leave us a like, and if you want to see more on all things Japanese toys, don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Anne, and until next time, goodbye!